for celebration for Las Vegas, who gets their second win of the season. Both of these teams 2-3 on the tail end of Week 5. 4 points between them. These two teams looked very similar. I mean, you go down the team statistics. It's the Spider-Man meme, one pointing at the other, both looking very similar. The only difference, 4 points in favor of the Raiders. All right, let's dive in. Leger, Douzable, Bryant, McFadden here to break this one down. Fellas, interesting decision there to kick the field goal, set up a short field. Josh McDaniels wanted 3. Field goal doesn't go, gives the Packers a last gasp. This one was back and forth, and maybe not in the best fashion, Deuce. What did you make of these two game plans and the lack of execution within it?
Moose, B-Mac, it was clear that both of these coaches don't trust their quarterbacks. According to these game plans, they were so vanilla, and I think they were so scared of their quarterbacks turning the football over. And you look at Jordan Love, he had 3 turnovers, so I get why Matt LaFleur was nervous about him potentially turning over the ball. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know what it is. At the unopportune time, he always has that pivotal turnover. They're going in, marching the ball down the field, Moose and B-Mac, to potentially go up 2 scores in this game, and he throws an interception that if the safety doesn't pick it off, Rasul Douglas is going to pick it off. So either way, the ball shouldn't have been thrown. So you talked about the Spider-Man meme. That's exactly what you saw in this game, right? Both teams essentially were like, you know what, we're throwing the playbook out. We're going to try to run the football. That's what Green Bay did with A.J. Dillon. We finally saw him get it going. 4 yards here, 5 yards here. Literally, there was one drive where I believe after the turnover, it was 37 yards. I believe 34 of it came on the ground with A.J. Dillon. So both of these coaches were scared to put the game in the quarterback's hands at the end. Like you said, Josh McDaniels, questionable call to kick the field goal, but the defense bails him out. Yeah,
similar inefficiencies on both sides of this matchup. Mac, what's your headline coming out of this one? Sort of hard to make sense of both of these teams sitting at 2-3, got their different ways, but a lot of the same problems.
Jordan Love has to grow up as a professional quarterback. Guys, 2 weeks in a row. When you talk about last week against Detroit and then this week, he has a combined 5 interceptions. That's not winning football. And Leger, I'm right there with you. The offensive game plan was very, very vanilla. But they still had an opportunity to win this ball game, right? They had some injuries that occurred throughout this ball game on the defensive side. They still played pretty good football. The turnovers. You cannot have 3 turnovers, especially on the road against a desperate team and expect to win. And I understand people will say, well, it's the tips and things like that. They just made plays on the football. But I can tell you this much, turnovers will become a habit. It can become a habit. And that's what we're seeing from Jordan Love. It seems like he's always on the wrong end of the stick in regards to a turnover. He has to find a way to play smarter football because the quarterback they had before Jordan Love, that's one thing he did. Protect the football. Aaron Rodgers was so good in protecting the football because when you can protect the football, you give your defense a fighting chance. And that has been an issue for Jordan Love the last 2 weeks against the Detroit Lions and then again tonight. 5 turnovers, 5 interceptions in the last 2 ball games. That's not winning football.
Yeah, and we're taking looks at numbers here. If you want to go back even a week further, maybe that's the line to draw there between weeks 2 and week 3. I'll give you the tip ball on the second one, but the first one, I mean, you could walk it over there and hand it to Spillane. The third one was late. He had his wide receiver open down the field, so growth is needed. How do you explain that, Deuce? Some of the issues that Jordan Love's having right now, because there are moments where he's flat-footed and he gets that sidearm flick and he's looking like 12 in a Green Bay uniform. The high and the low right now, it's indicative of someone who hasn't played a lot of football at this level. How does he lean into what he's doing well?
Yeah, I think it's him playing one with confidence. You can tell a lot of times when he's throwing the ball, he isn't throwing it with confidence. You're talking about that throw to Christian Watson at the end of the game. He had Robertson beat by 3 or 4 yards and he just underthrew that ball. B-Mac, we talked about this in the pregame, right? Too many times there's open receivers and he sells the football. So I don't know if it's mechanic-wise with his footwork. He's not stepping into throws. But like you said, Moose, every once in a while we get a glimpse of vintage Aaron Rodgers out there with the sidearm, knowing where to go with the football. He looked like a a quarterback with confidence coming out at half. When he got sacked back by Max Crosby, that's when everything failed. Literally, the next play, try to force the ball down the field. Marcus Peters does a really good job knocking it away from Christian Watson, gets picked by Spillane. So he has to play with a little bit more confidence. I still think the coaching staff can help him out a little bit. I didn't see any pre-snap motion. I didn't see any rub routes out there. When he was confident, it was easy throws, like to the flat with the tight end. But other than that, the coaching staff made this offensive scheme very vanilla, and I believe it's because they were nervous that he was going to turn the football over.
All right, let's get to the winning side here, because 3 of the next 4 for Vegas come against teams that are 1-4. There are wins out in front of them on this schedule, but I don't think they're striking fear into the heart of anybody right now with that offense. Let's go on the defensive side of the ball, because we watched Max Crosby affect this game in so many ways, Deuce. You've had your hand in the dirt in similar situations. Explain to me just how he affects that game in essentially every aspect.
First and foremost, Moose, relentless effort. And B-Mac, you know this as a player. Like, you can win reps on effort alone. And we saw that from Max Crosby. Literally, on that play where not Christian Watson, but Jordan Love had an incompletion. He literally, Moose, we talked about this. He was on the left side. He looped all the way around the defensive line and got a quarterback hit. There was times where he was running the running back down from the left hash all the way to the right hash. So relentless effort. Couldn't always get to the quarterback, but he affected the game in the run game. 4 tackles for loss today, added a sack, and almost had 2 or 3 other sacks. So the relentless effort this guy plays with. We saw a stat that was crazy, Moose. This guy's never missed a game. Impressive. I don't think he misses many plays. I don't even know if he came off the field tonight. So if Max Crosby, the superstar he is, that's infectious for the rest of your defense. When a guy like that is playing at a high level and holding everybody else accountable, you better come out and bring your hard hat and come to work every day too.
Mac, we talk about this schedule out in front of him. How can Max Crosby and this defense be the tent pole in which the Raiders rally around? The offense, it's got some stuff to figure out. The running game got going a little bit with Josh Jacobs in this one, but no explosive plays. When the defense can be the tone setter, how does that make things easier on your offense?
Well, it takes the pressure off your offense when the defense is kind of leading the way, leading the charge. And you talked about what they have coming up in the next few weeks. That's why this game was so important, right? You're playing against a guy in Jordan Love that has been struggling in regards to his completion percentage, throwing the ball to the wrong color, and you're at home on a primetime stage. You take care of business against the Green Bay Packers, and then I think they have the New England Patriots coming up. Oh, by the way, Mac Jones is looking like one of the worst quarterbacks in the National Football League. So you have a favorable matchup in regards to quarterback play coming up. And if you talk about a guy in Max Crosby who is like the ultimate electric car, he's always on full charge. I've never seen a guy who gives it his all, play in and play out, and he never looks fatigued. So whatever his workout regimen is, the entire defense should follow him when he does extra gases or whatever the case may be. But they can jumpstart things, because one thing we saw in regards to their offense, they finally got Josh Jacobs going, right? Devontae Adams, based on the coverages he was seeing, he didn't do a lot, but Jacoby Myers stood up. And I think we all would agree, we will see more Devontae Adams like we've seen over the last few weeks show up than what we saw tonight. So when you get him to come to the party and he's the ultimate DJ, everybody is going to start dancing. You know what I mean? Because you got Jacoby Myers who's coming to the party as well, and we know what Josh Jacobs can do. So this was a great game for the Raiders. Number one, beating the team you're supposed to be, and number two, having a favorable schedule coming up the next few weeks, and some of those games you get at home. This was a nice bounce back game for the Raiders. Now let's see if this is sustainable, right? That's the thing. Can they find a way to pile victory on top of victories? Because if they don't, of course they will be spiraling in the wrong direction.
Jordan Love becomes the first Packer quarterback with no touchdown passes and 3 INTs in a game since Brett Hundley in 2017. Aaron Rodgers, the comparison point, never had such a game in his career as a Packer. Bryant, McFadden, Douzable, thank you as always for the insight as we take a look at some numbers coming out of this one. Most interceptions this season. Well, we talked about the other guy who put 3 up. He's also on this list, tied with 6. I think it just becomes an alphabetical issue for Jordan Love that's keeping him off of the graphic. But Jimmy G, he's got issues as well. In just 4 games, he's thrown 7 INTs. Something to figure out, something to iron out, but it's always better to learn within a win.